welcome to the channel. Thank you everyone for tuning in. So we have a new release by Cadisen. This is the CH226M. To me and you, it looks like a GS, and this is what the watch they have homaged. And it is a bit of a mixed bag. And I've got mixed feelings when it comes to watches of this nature. On one side, as you guys know, I'm all for homages. However, when brands are homaging really high-end pieces, there is a certain level of quality that has to be met. So the question I have in this video, or what I hope to get across to you guys, can £60–70 really justify a fairly decent homage to a watch like a GS? So we're going to go through specifications and dimensions, after which I'll break down the rest of the watch to you, what I like about it and what I don't really like. So starting off with dimensions, it does have some really nice dims. You've got a 40mm case diameter, you've got a thickness of 11.5mm, and you have a very compact lug-to-lug 47mm, and you also have female end links. And you also have 20mm lug width. Now the bracelet on this watch is all solid. You've got split pin construction as expected, but you also got a butterfly clasp, and you've got a mix of finishing overall. You've got your brushing and your polishing on the case, as well as the brushing and the polishing on the bracelet. But there is a massive difference between the case and the bracelet, which we'll go on to in just a short while. In terms of specs, can't fault them at all. It's got great specifications. You've got a sapphire crystal. You've got a Seiko NH35 automatic movement. By now, everybody should be familiar with the Seiko NH35. You've got 100 meters of water resistance backed up by a screw-down crown and a screw-down case back, which is a really nice touch. And you've got an exhibition case back, but they've kind of designed it to, let's say, mask the how plain and simple the NH35 looks. And I actually quite like it. It's not, I don't know, it's not ridiculous. It looks kind of okay. The pattern there, it does do a good job of kind of hiding the plainness of the movement, but still giving you enough to see an automatic movement in the back. So that's kind of okay. I mean, I'm not a fan of the butterfly clasp, because due to the price of the watch, it's it's not going to be that good. Now the price of this watch is coming now around £70. They do have 3 different color options. You've got this white birch style effect. You also got a sunburst blue and a sunburst green, but with rose gold hour markers. So they've got a fair few options available. And what I gotta say about Cadisen is that they've done some really good watches. So if we look at the 62 Mass Homage and we look at the Vintage Diver Homage, for the same price, they gave us really well built watches, and between them they have really good value for money. But when it comes to them homaging something like a GS, I don't know, there's a couple of things which I'm just not too sure on. If you buy cheap, you end up buying twice, but is that the complete case when it comes to this Cadisen? So let's have a closer look. So when we take a closer look at the dial, there's a couple of aspects which I really do like. I mean, you've got an applied date frame with a nice bevel on there. You've also got a pretty decent texture. When you look at this birch texturing on the dial, it's done quite nicely. You've got a bit of silver in there along with the white. It's really vibrant, does really stand out. You've also got a chapter ring which is lined up perfectly, which is more than what we can ask for. So they've done really well there. You've also got an applied logo just below the 12, and plain automatic text above the 6. And with that 40mm case diameter, you've got, as I said, a lot of dial on display. It's going to have really good presence on wrist. So I do like all those aspects. The one thing that I don't like, and I'm not too keen on, is the handset. It is quite plain. You do have a slight bevel. It is polished, but you could have done so much to a handset like this, especially if you are homaging a GS. And just in line with that, when we take a look at the hour markers, and I'm only pointing this out because I've seen really nice GS homages out there, and they have a lot more definition. Sadly, with these hour markers, if we take a look at the 12 o'clock, while you've got the general shape there and the taper, it is all fully polished, so you don't really see much of the definition. And if you take a closer look, there actually isn't that much depth or definition in those hour markers. Now, it's only £70, so that is expected. Maybe I'm judging it too harshly, but when you do homage a GS, you gotta have that level, right? It's gotta be somewhat comparable, and we've seen that from San Martin and Seaston, where they have given us really high quality hour markers, handsets, which does kind of make sense when you look at it from a homage perspective. But they are well placed and they are well aligned, so I'm not going to totally knock them. And they've also done reasonably well on the loom. You've got C3 loom just on the hour and the minute hand, and yeah, it does do a great job of glowing. I mean, it's not super bright, it's not going to last a great deal, but it is a dress watch slash sports watch, so it's not a diver. It doesn't need to last for hours and hours. But the point is, it is visible and it is okay for that price point. Now, moving on to the case, some really nice features on the case. So when we look at the flat bezel, we can see they do have that coarse brushing, which is found on other Homage of this type. They could do with some, cleaner definition on the edges or the transition on the bezel, where you could just look at the edge here, particularly at the 11 o'clock marker. You can just see it's, not crisp. What you can see what looks like to be damage or just, unclean finishing. But the transition is quite smooth for the most part. Nice polished bevel around the side of that case. Now the case is actually particularly nice. I can't really fault them for the case. If we take a look at the lugs, you've got linear brushing, which does come down to the lugs, and that transition on the lugs is much crisper, a lot cleaner than we see on the bezel. Really nice wide polished bevel, and again crisp, clear transitions. And in comparison to like Pagani design, they do kind of mess up on the transitions quite a bit, but this is very crisp and very clear. And you've also got this very soft, almost satin-like brushing on the side of the case. Again, really well done, and again something which I can't fault on. For me, where it really starts to fall apart is that bracelet. I find it quite unsightly. It feels quite light as well in hand. It doesn't match up to the case at all, and you've got, it's a bit loose, it's a bit jingly jangly, as I like to say. I appreciate the female end links, but if you take a look at the rest of the links, there's just a huge gap in between. So that is quite gappy. There's also a lot of flexibility in there. And my feedback to Cadisen was just scrap the bracelet, because you're trying to do a lot for £70. And because you're homaging a GS, you want to do it some kind of justice. And a bracelet is quite important. So with this bracelet, yeah, it's just not to my taste. I'm not a huge fan of it. And I think it does bring the watch down a lot. As I said, the case is very acceptable. £70, you really can't knock it, but that bracelet needs to go. But before I do that, give you guys a quick glimpse of this watch still on the bracelet on my 6.5 inch wrist. There's a lot of unfinished sides which you can see. So we take a closer look here on the links. Just look how badly finished that is. Or the lack of finishing on there. It's just raw, and that's not something you want to see, right, or be reminded of, regardless of the price. Which is why, again, goes back to my point, sometimes it's better to spend a bit more, or even double the price in this case, just to get something which will not have these unsightly options. So yeah, this is the watch on the bracelet, but I'm going to take this off and I'm going to find a more suitable leather strap, and then we'll have another look at it. So we're back with just a standard leather strap, with some self-color stitching. You could also go for a darker color with some white stitching that matches the dial. But yeah, instantly it's transformed the watch. It makes the watch a lot nicer to look at, and you don't have that over-the-top shininess in your face that you have with the bracelet. And you can just see the poor quality of the bracelet does really let the watch down. I much prefer it on a leather strap. It brings back some of that classiness to the watch as well. Credit to Cadisen for the case itself. The case I've got no qualms with at all. I think for £70, they've given us a really high quality of finishing on the case. So if you do want to get this, guys, just make sure you have a nice leather strap available that you can switch it out for, so the watch will look much better. And now it doesn't look so bad. It doesn't look like it's only £70. Like I said, the hour markers and the handset, that's only because I've got other brands in my mind that I've seen do better homages of this style of watch. But as this stands, for £70, it looks a lot better, and it's something now worth considering. So that's it from me today, guys. Let me know your thoughts as always in the comment section below, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.